We settling in. Mars, the red planet, closest to Earth in our solar system. Surely life must exist on it. We dreamt about the builders of the canals that we could see by telescope, of ruined cities, lost Martian civilizations, the possibility of alien contact, the possibilities of alien contact. Then the Viking and Mariner probes went up and sent back nothing. Mars was a barren planet. Lifeless, sterile, uninhabited. In 2019, the first man set foot on the surface of Mars. John Boone, American hero. In 2027, 100 of the Earth's finest engineers and scientists made the first mass landing. Their mission? To create a new world. To terraform a planet with no atmosphere, an intensely cold climate, and no magnetosphere into an Eden full of people, plants, and animals. It is the greatest challenge mankind has ever faced, the ultimate use of intelligence and ability, our finest dream. Very nice skate punk. So, Tonkus hasn't been here since Arcady was naked. Where's Emmerich? I wish Emmerich was here. He'd be freaking out. He'd be like, that was the best part. We miss Arcady. Who else is in the King of Phobos fan club? All of us, I think. But, so, yeah, Nadia and Arcady got caught in a sandstorm, found out that they were part of a sabotage, and then they survived. They got out of the sandstorm through, like, some daring do, and they made it back to base, and they told John what was going on. They were like, John, somebody sabotaged the mission. And John was like, well, we actually just got off the phone with the UN, and they gave approval to start terraforming with microorganisms. Genetically modified, genetically engineered microorganisms were approved by the UN today. And then Arcady laughed, and he's like, ha ha, those bastards, they're gonna get away with it. Oops. Chat's not that thin. It's fine. I see all the classics. So then it was the next part of the book. I think that was part 4, or that was part 3. And then it went to part 4, is what I meant to say. And we got to go inside the mind of Michel Duval. It started off with a bit of poetry about how the black mold is covering the entire surface of the planet now. And then Michel Duval, he's a goofy guy. Mold, yeah, the genetically engineered microorganism, or the GEM. It was the most successful GEM that they produced synthetically. I mean, that's the oxymoron, or not an oxymoron. It's, anyways. It was an algae. Their most successful microorganism was a form of algae that was bred to be able to survive comfortably on Mars. And they had finally a successful one. They dubbed it Underhill algae, and they released it into the ecosystem. R.I.P. Michel died doing what he loved. Eating dirt, naked, ass up in low oxygen. Yeah, So Michel was the group psychologist out of the first 100, and to be honest, he was the least qualified of them to be there. But they were like, hey, we gotta find a psychologist who wants to go to Mars with all these engineers. And Michel was like, yeah, that's me. And then he goes to Mars and he's like, what the fuck, this sucks. And he can't stop staring at Maya's tits all day. And then he's like, and how does that make you feel? And then he joins a cult and has an orgy with a dirt goddess. And she feeds him the dirt, and he eats the dirt. And then they get real freak nasty. And then it's part 5. They're mulch maxing. Oh wait, yeah, and the cult. So the cult is run by Hiroko, a Japanese scientist who's in charge of like all of the farming stuff. She's really into like growing. I think she grows mushrooms, but you know, she's got all the farm stuff. She's like a space farmer. And Hiroko, she starts a cult, and they, like, eat dirt, and they have kids. Like, they have, like, orgies so that they can, like, populate Earth. Like, not Earth. They can populate Mars. And she's like, Michel, join us. You want to join? We need a mind like yours. And he's like, yeah, I really needed this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really needed this. And then we find out in part 5 that was all real, I think. Because we find out that Hiroko has a quote-unquote cult. All of the 100 have, like, been dispersed to, like, other settlements. Because now there's, like, thousands of people on Mars. Mars has got, like, I think it's been 20 years. I was thinking about it a lot this last week. I was like, what is this time jump? Because I don't know where we are in the Martian history for this book. But I think it's been 20 years. I think. Oh my god. Okay. Thank you, mods. Man, really wanted to see my feet. So, what was I saying? Dude, that's so rude. Oh my god. John's like 67 now, but also their scientists are like on another level on Mars, dude. They found a way to there was a scene in the beginning of part 5, like how part 4 started with like someone being like, "Oh, the whole place is covered in like the algae." And there's black algae over the red rocks, and you can't see. And anyways, that's part of the terraforming, because it's gonna like absorb heat and like produce gases and release heat. Anyways, they've also engineered they've done something to the mice. They have lab rats, and they've made lab mice or rats, whatever. I think they're mice. They have mice in their labs on the Martian mountain, and they made the mice be able to live 15 years. Like, the dude was like, there's like 2 dudes in like lab coats, and this guy's like, yeah, you see these mice? The other guy's like, yeah. He's like, they're 15 years old. And he's like, oh shit. What? And then it like goes into part 5, which is John. John is the narrator now. John Boone, American hero, who dies in the beginning of the book due to sabotage. Again, sabotage is the theme of the book, I think. So now we're in John's mind, and He's like 67 now. And he's flying around like all these like rough Martian settlements. Like there's like there's like people who just travel the land, like building roads. And he's like going on the roads, and he's like going to other settlements because he's trying to find out. There's weird shit happening. Like trucks are falling off of fucking mountains. Satellites are getting shot out of the sky. Equipment is blowing up for no reason because of C4 planted in it. So John is like, he's kind of like a spokesperson for Mars. He's really famous. He was the first man on Mars, and then he was part of the first 100. So he's going around, he's like visiting all the settlements, and he's like, hello, I'm Joe Biden. That was too mean. He's not like Joe Biden, but you know, he's like doing like a presidential tour, and he's also secretly investigating a murder. Not a murder, but sabotage. And pianos keep like falling, like right, like he like moves forward one step and like a piano falls behind him, and he's like, that was weird. Did anyone else see that? That was crazy. But it's all because of a secret terrorist organization that may or may not be tied to multiple people, including the Dirt Cult. Because apparently Hiroko actually started a cult and ran away to the south, and they call it the Lost Colony. For, you know, obvious reasons. Nobody knows where they are. And they, like, a bunch of her and her farm team just, like, ran away and started their own community, and nobody knows where it is. And there's so much going on, you guys. There's so much going on. I was gonna say one more thing. So while John is doing like his detective work, he's like smoking a cigar and drinking whiskey, and he's going around like interviewing people and trying to like find out who's behind all of this stuff. And so he's talking to Sax Russell. I believe Sax Russell is the man who he's in the lab with the lab rats, but I don't know that for sure. I just think that. He definitely knows about the rats. In fact, some people say that he is 100 lab rats in a lab coat, and that is Sax Russell. He seems all right though. I don't know why everyone's all weird about everybody. So all the original 100 seem to hate each other now, and Sax and John still talk, and like John still kind of talks to everybody because they're like, oh, it's John. John's cool, I guess. But everybody else like hates everybody. So John's talking to Sax, and Sax is like, Hiroko started a cult, Arkady started a cult, Anne started a cult. Everybody's got a cult. It's like the thing they're doing to be cool. And that's it. That's where we are right now. That's like literally the last thing. John was interviewing Anne. And Anne was like, you know what, you deserve it. If I could keep Mars red, I would kill you, John. I'd kill you. I'm not blowing up everything. I'm not shooting the satellites out of the sky. They're using me as cover. But if I thought that I could change the way that we're doing things by killing you, I'd do it. And then John gives a really good speech, and he's like, listen, we all want different things, but we can work together because we all want the same thing. I love you, Anne. No, and then he says something else really sweet aside from that, and then he comes home, and that's where we are now. He's like, look, we all want to kill me. And isn't it nice that we can that something brings us together? That's all that matters, boys. Is that we'll do it together. Oh, and then the last thing that I'll say is that although everybody hates everybody from the original 100, there's pretty much a distinct left and right. Not to say left and right like as we know them. Like, I'm not saying one side's more, but don't think of it that way. I'm just like, there's a dichotomy. There's the reds and the greens. The people who are reds want to keep Mars they didn't want to disturb Mars. They didn't want to release the algae. They didn't want to terraform so fast. They wanted to study Mars, keep it original, red Mars. So it's the reds versus the greens. And the greens are the people who are like, Mars is dead. Who cares if it's red? Let's plant grass. So there you go. I really want to start putting pictures of Mars in the background before it's too late, because anyways, but I can't do that. I haven't done it yet. So he's on his way home back to Underhill. Giant plateaus that seemed to be about to block his way would turn out to be curving strata on a distant cliff. Small boulders next to transponders would turn out to be enormous mesas, half a day's drive away. And in the sunset light, all the colors blazed. The whole Martian spectrum revealed and blazing, as if color was bursting out of the rock. Everything from pale yellow to dark bruised purple. Candor Chasma. He was going to have to go back sometime and explore it. The day after that, he drove up the steady slope of the North Ophir Road, which the Swiss crew had completed the previous year. Up and up and up. And then, without ever seeing a distinct rim, he was out of the canyons, rolling past the domed holes of Ganges Katina. Katina, I believe is the pronunciation, but I'm not sure. Then, without ever seeing a distinct rim, he was out of the canyons, rolling past the domed holes of the Ganges Katina, and then over the old familiar plain, following a wide road, over the tight horizon, past Chernobyl and Underhill. Then on for another day west to Ekis Overlook, Sax's new terraforming headquarters. His journey had taken a week and crossed 2,500 kilometers. Okay, I'll be right back. I think something fell over upstairs. don't know what it was. TNT, thank you for 27 months. Oh, stop it. Oh, wait, I've seen those. Awesome. Those are the ones that rotate, too. Yeah, they're cool. And they're really pretty. I want, like, a Jupiter one. I don't think I would pick Mars. I would probably pick, like, Jupiter. Yeah, hopefully Arcady comes back at some point. Like, they said Arcady started a cult, which, to be fair, I could see him doing that, but I also think they're just talking shit because they're jealous. Also that, no, I know, they have all the planets. I've seen them in, like, museum gift shops and shit, and I was always like, man, if I had money to burn... Which planet is sideways? Uranus. Uranus got blasted so hard it's sideways now. Okay. That headline is the only reason I remember that fact. Fuck you, Roar, dude. That's the kind of mind that we need on this team. You want to go to the Southern Hemisphere? Okay, wait. These are things I shouldn't say to people. Oh my god. Let's continue. Sax Russell was back from Acheron in his own place. Sax Russell was back from Acheron. I don't remember why he went to Acheron. In his own place. He was a power now, and no doubt about it, having been named by Unoma a decade before as scientific head of the terraforming effort. And of course that decade of power had had its effect on him. He had solicited UN and transnational aid to build a whole town to serve as headquarters for the terraforming effort. And he had placed this town about 500 kilometers due west of Underhill, on the edge of a cliff that formed the eastern wall of Ekis Chasma. I feel like Sax Russell's turning into a little bit of a supervillain. I think he's behind all of this. No, I don't know. But, I don't know. Who builds their lair on the side of a mountain? Supervillains, that's... I feel like every time, like, when John says he's walking up to Sax Russell's headquarters, I feel like there's, like, a crack of lightning, and there's, like, dark clouds. But maybe that's just because I'm a diehard Red. I'm Red scum. Like, he's really not that bad. He's not as bad as some other people. Anyways, as far as I know so far, I think he's a bit cold. Let's walk that back. I'm gonna say he's a bit cold. You know what? Never mind. He's a bit cold. He's a bit calculated. Yes, I love, that's my favorite part, Roar. Like, that's what I've been saying. I love it. I'm really excited that you're excited about this. Like, ever since I started reading it, you've been here, so that's awesome. I know it must be really hard for you to not give spoilers. I also appreciate that. You've said little things, and I'm like, I just got excited about them. Like, when you said, you're like, Sax has a way bigger role later in the books. And I was like, ooh. I couldn't wait. Because Sax, he says, like, he's a man of few words in the beginning. But they're always, like, punchy. Like, everything he said was like, I was like, ooh, that's something I'd say. And I didn't know where it was leading. Okay, Sax in the headquarters. A decade of power. He's been in power for a decade as the head of the the terraforming project. Transnational terraforming project. We got approval from the United Nations Organization of Martian Affairs. And had placed this town about 500 kilometers due west of Underhill, giving him a blank check on Mars, on the edge of the cliff that formed the eastern wall of Ekis Chasma. Ekis was one of the narrowest and deepest canyons on the planet, and its eastern wall was even taller than South Melis, perfect for throwing political enemies off of. I'm not worried. Okay, the eastern wall was even taller than South Melis. The section that they had chosen to build the town into was a vertical basalt cliff, 4,000 meters high. Mars IRL will be sold to the highest bidders. Yeah, literally, I'm not excited about anything anymore. Don't worry. All right, guys, it's delusion hour. Don't talk about Elon Musk, please. The town was built into a vertical basalt cliff 4,000 meters high. At the top of the cliff, there was very little sign of the new town. The land between the rim was almost unmarked. Only a concrete pillbox here and there, and to the north, the plume of a rickover. But when John climbed out of his rover into one of the rim pillboxes and got in one of the big elevators inside it, the extent of the town began to come clear. The elevators went down 50 floors, and when he descended 50 stories, he got out and found other elevators that would take him even lower. A whole series of them, descending right down to the floor of Ekis Chasma. Dude, okay, that's sweet. That's awesome. I would build my headquarters like that. Down to the floor of Ekis Chasma. Say a story was 10 meters. That meant that there was room in the cliff for 400 stories. Actually, not that much of the room had been used yet, and most of the rooms built so far were cluttered up in the highest 20 floors. Sax's offices, for instance, were very near the top. His meeting room was a big open chamber with a continuous floor-to-ceiling window as its western wall. When John walked into the room looking for Sax, it was still mid-morning, and the window was almost clear. Far, far below lay the chasm floor, still half in shadow. And there out in the sunlight stood the much lower western wall of Echius. And beyond that, the great slope of the Tharsis Bulge, rising higher and higher to the south. Out in the middle distance was the low bump of Tharsis Tholus, and to the left of it, just poking over the horizon, lay the purple cone of Ascraeus Mons, the northernmost of the great prince volcanoes. Sorry, I had to burp. For me, overall, the most interesting details are how he's imagined scientific advancements in the future. So scuffed. What's scuffed about it? I feel like it's pretty fucking good for, like... I don't think he's even mentioned anything that I'm, like, I don't know a shit ton, but, like, I'm pretty immersed. What's scuffed about it, man? Oh, we can do so much more than 15-year-old rats and algae modification. Well, this is also a political drama. I feel like the politics are, the internet not being a thing. Like, nobody has social media. But he also kind of, I mean, the social media thing. But who could have seen that coming? Like, everyone's gonna have, like, a little, like, pop culture moment. I don't know. They know that, like, anyways, I don't know. It was 1995, like, at least for this edition, which is, I don't know. That I like old science fiction already. Like, I'm not always, like, reading old science fiction, like, oh, they didn't know that Twitter would exist. I like it for, like, the thing that gets my dick hard about this book is the hard work, you know, just the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, we went to Mars and we brought some tractors and we started digging. And then everybody got real weird about it. That's great. That's like, I mean, you know, the bones. It's got good bones. Ugh, that was terrible. Wait, what is long ago again? Yeah, I don't think it was that long ago. It's just things have changed so much since 1995. I was born that year, by the way. So much has changed. Like, I'm sure we all appreciate that. Just a lot has been packed into those almost 30 years now. You had PCs and cell phones. Yeah, in 95. Yeah, it was not in 95, dude. Oh, okay. Well, see, I don't even see the... okay, so could you predict social media stars? Could you predict influencers? Okay, like, dude, John would be, like, live streaming this or some shit. That's... You know, you guys have turned this around on me. I was actually disagreeing with you. I thought that the book was pretty solid for the amount of information that was available in 1995. Okay, like, he knows that you can, like, send, like, transmissions over, like, fucking... the underground, I don't know. Dude, I don't fucking know. Fuck you. Whatever. I think I had a better opinion on this than you did. Just that in 1995, I was literally a newborn baby, okay? Actually, I wasn't even born for most of 95. Oh god, I'm losing my street cred. Shit, I was born in December. So, I was literally unborn in 95. I was that little fetus that, like, pro-birthers like to show in, like, memes and shit. You know, they're like, this is the fetus you aborted. That was me in 95, okay? Until December, okay? And then I grew up, and I think this book is, you know, pretty solid for the information that was had. Yeah, and Purple, I said that at the beginning. I fucking read the copyright at the beginning of the book. I don't know, you probably didn't hear me, but I said that. I was like, but I should say it again. The first edition was 92. That's why I said this edition was 95. Yeah, so it was written in 91 to 92. Thank you, Purple Wayne. I have to pee again. We've gotten like 2 paragraphs in. Book club, let's go. When I say book club, you say book club. Book club.